Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another edition of the NFC East Roundtable, powered by BetUS. 53-man rosters are locked. Week 1 is officially exactly a week away. Vibes are high over here. As you come in, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on bell notifications. We have quite a bit to talk about. But first, let's go around the table and see how everybody is doing. Representing the Philadelphia Eagles, our good friend Gary Sheffield Jr. First episode. Welcome to the team, man. How you doing?
I appreciate you guys. Long year last year, Dan, as I mentioned before we went live. And I'm just happy to meet you guys and just get a chance to meet everybody, obviously, in the comments and just see kind of really just understand what's happening this year, because obviously our defense can't get much worse than it was last year. Loved what we did in the draft, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Absolutely, man. Love it. Rio, talk to me, man. How's life, dude?
What's going on, man? We are a week away from actual regular season football. Rosters are out of the way. The teams are now doing game prep and install for week 1. We got a new member to the group. Welcome, Gary, to the group we got over here. Let's talk our stuff. Let's have some fun, and let's get into it.
And last but not least, Kid Blue.
What's up, man? Doing good. As Rio said, man, we got. I mean, the next time we see football is going to be real football. So that's exciting to see. And it's always the best time of year. And now we start getting our fantasy lineup set and all that stuff. So it's a fun time of the year. Get ready to get started.
And so Rio was joking around with you right before the show, and he mentioned that you were going to be first in line with that new Neighbors jersey.
Yeah, listen. I mean, I've always wanted the Neighbors jersey. I was waiting to see what he was going to come out with because, there's always a rule. You never buy a rookie's jersey, off the bat, when it comes to like training camp numbers and stuff like that. If you don't know he's going to keep it or not. So I knew Neighbors was not going to keep 9. It was only there because he had to pick 9. We didn't know if he was going to go with 88 or whatever. Nobody would have thought they were going to unretire a number for him. So I'm happy they did though, because it looks clean. It looks clean.
Absolutely, man. You have to love it. And you're probably wondering where J-Tuck is. He actually works for, I want to say it's a radio station or a local news station outside of Kansas. And he is covering the college football game right now for Kansas State or University of Kansas. I'm not sure.
They're playing this soon. Wow.
Yeah, one of the two. So he's actually out on the sidelines right there. So we have one of his backups coming on in to talk some Cowboys, obviously. Super excited to start unpacking that once he joins. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, folks, this episode is powered by BetUS. Hands down, the best sports book on the face of the planet when it comes into everything and anything sports betting. And let me tell you what, they already have all of the lines on week 1 staring right in front of us here, folks. And get this. This is not some sort of cutesy promo. This is hands down the best promotion that any sports book has in the market right now. They are matching 125% of not 1, not 2, but all 3 of your first deposits all the way up to $2,000. And as you can see, we have the Giants over here and the Vikings. Surprisingly, a very small spread right there, Kid Blue. What do you think about that?
Yeah. We are definitely going to win that game with Sam Darnold playing. So
Y'all better.
Yeah.
Y'all better.
I mean, listen, this is one of the games where I say this needs to be a win. This needs to be a win because there's not a lot of them to go around with this schedule. So I'm confident in this game. If Sam Darnold beats us, just lose every game. Just lose every game.
Oh, man. Listen, I will tell you what. Certainly looking forward to next week. And I don't want to tease anything because we all know that we're going to be diving deep right into the week 1 matchups. However, as I did mention, and by the way, guys, link is in description for BetUS. Go ahead and hit that. Supporting our sponsors, exact same way of supporting us. Absolutely beautiful. But like I said, I want to save a lot of this for next week for all of these game previews. But 53-man rosters were finalized. It was good. All of the camp sweethearts either ended up making the team or not, but we finally have a really good understanding of what we are walking into the 2024 season with. So I want to go around the panel as of right now as we continue to wait for our Cowboys representative. I'm sure he'll be here soon. Talk to us about the biggest takeaways from the 53-man roster, some players that you weren't expecting to make the team, but they ended up, sort of striving past adversity in doing so, and really just your overall thoughts as week 1 is just a week away. I'm going to start off with Ria on this one.
Okay.
Talking about this.
It's year one of what they call a recalibration, which fancy way to tell fans this is a rebuild. They don't want to use the word rebuild, and they don't want to give off some of the characteristics of the last regime, because Ron Rivera told people it took 3 to 5 years to build a culture. Culture never got built in 4 years. It was so bad that the 33 players that he drafted in those 4 years, only 11 remain on the roster 4 years later. Our 2023 draft class, our new regime has already purged through 5 of the 7 picks. Only 2, our first and second round pick, Emmanuel Forbes and Quan Martin, remain. So it's a lot of new. It's a year of new for Washington. Most importantly, I look at like the receiver room. Our wide receiver room, after trading Jahan Dotson to Gary's Philadelphia Eagles, which I didn't mind because he clearly didn't fit, and there were like culturally, he just was not a fit at the time. The production dropped, and he was losing his job to De'Ami Brown and Olamide Zaccheaus. That's not a glowing endorsement for a former first-round pick that your current GM didn't draft. So we added, after the 53-man roster was final, we added Noah Brown to the roster, a former Dallas Cowboy, most recently a former Houston Texan, a guy who in 8 less games produced as much as Jahan Dotson in the last 2 years. So we practically got the same production in our receiver room, and we added a 3rd and a 7th round pick to do so. So I'm just telling Washington fans, we are in year one. If we do win games this year, if we somehow get in the mix for some type of wild card, that is the cherry on top of a transitional year. But expectations need to be tempered. We're going to actually do this the right way for the first time.
Now, Gary, what exactly were your thoughts once you saw that Jahan Dotson was being sent over to the Philadelphia Eagles? I want to keep it on the Commanders here real fast, because that interdivisional trade is very rare. And I mean, from my perspective as well, I was absolutely shocked. I was having a hard time understanding why they would have done that.
I can't. Yeah, from the Eagles, I didn't understand it, but we're sitting in a room here with Kid Blue, and we took their player as well, in Saquon Barkley. So I was very excited to see that. But I'm excited to see it. I didn't understand it. I never understand interdivision decisions via trade, via free agent. None of it. I don't get it. But as far as what the Eagles are doing, Anai Smith, draft pick from us, he had a phantom ankle injury, which was interesting. Okay, this is Howie Roseman being super creative and finding ways to maneuver this lineup. I know that a lot of us, we would like to believe that we get honesty when it comes to who's hurt, who's healthy out there. But there's a lot of trickery when it comes to who's on these 53-man rosters. And I think this is Howie Roseman getting creative.
Got it. Very, very interesting. And you know what? Sticking with Gary, so we heard a little bit right now from the Washington Commanders' final 53. And we were talking backstage, sort of thinking about your expectations for the Eagles. Obviously, you were mentioning that the defense ended up letting you down. Final 53-man roster, how are you feeling going into 2024? Is there more hope building off from last year's disappointment, I would say?
Oh, absolutely. And the hope is that the secondary is a lot better. The tackling is a lot better. And I mentioned before we went live, we're one of 4 teams that gave up 50 touchdowns last year. I believe Washington was another one of those teams. Kenyon Mitchell, 1st round pick, our 2nd round pick, another cornerback, and Cooper DeJean. So Avonte Maddox is returning, Darius Slay. So a lot of usual suspects, but you're talking about a couple of names at the top of the draft that can make an impact early. They don't need to be superheroes. They need to fill a job. They need to fill a role. It's very clear with the Yankees. Sorry, guys, run our Yankee show. But the Eagles, very clear what they're doing. So they just need to get better in the secondary. We expected to get better. The offensive game plan is also going to help them. Last year, they were throwing the ball way too much. Very similar to what you saw to Russell Wilson back in the day with Seattle in the latter half, throwing the ball way too much. They need to rely on Saquon Barkley. They need to rely on the run game in this line. They obviously don't have a ton of depth, something we've seen from Dallas in the past. They didn't shore up the offensive line in terms of depth. They need to stay healthy, maintain the running game, and allow the secondary to stay fresh and stable throughout the second half of this year as well.
Super interested to see how the Philadelphia Eagles season ends up turning up. We're going to have all of our answers here in just a couple of days, and then moving on to the New York Giants. Kid Blue, talk to me about where your thoughts are with this roster. Express any sort of concerns you may have leading up into the 2024 season? Talk to me.
Well, listen, like I said in a couple of shows previously, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest warriors, and I am that warrior, representing the Giants, trying to keep all the positivity going in the fan base as much as possible, while still kind of trying to be level-headed. Listen, this roster right now, as far as the 53-man roster goes, it's not great. All right, it's not great. You got a couple of star players in there. Obviously, Dexter Lawrence has ascended to God tier defensive lineman. You bring in a young rookie wide receiver like Malik Neighbors. We haven't had that much excitement at the wide receiver position since Odell Beckham Jr. And you have a couple of other places as well, but there are some key weaknesses as well with very, very little depth. Looking at the secondary, the entire secondary, the cornerbacks don't look great. There is nobody behind those cornerbacks besides Deonte Banks, and we don't even know if he's a clear-cut number one cornerback yet. I mean, his coverage looks great, but somehow the ball is still being caught. I mean, he's not a ball hawk. He's not really much to contest the catch, but he does provide good coverage. But it just seems like when the ball is thrown his way, the ball is caught. And besides that, the secondary is not looking great. I really envy Howie Roseman. I really envy Howie Roseman because, we were talking about this last week with the wide receivers, right? Because you guys have a decent wide receiver. It's very good. And still, Howie Roseman went ahead and traded and made sure he shored up that position. I know a lot of people didn't understand it. Getting a guy like Jahan Dotson, it just didn't work out with the Commanders, but they're just hoping that with him being a more limited role, working with the Eagles, that he doesn't have to be looked at as a primary target at any point, that he can develop and whatever the case may be. The Giants, however, are in a position right now where they have their cornerback spot. The second cornerback spot is a three-way battle with Nick McLeod. I'm sure you know who he is, Dan Mitchell. Nick McLeod. And Cordell Flott, along with 6th-round pick last year, Trey Hawkins. That is the cornerback battle for cornerback 2. And the fact that Howie Roseman could go ahead and trade for a position that's already good and still add depth to it, and Joe Shane looking at that cornerback position and saying, let them battle it out. Let's see who wins.
I thought our cornerback room was ass. Hey, that's an ass cornerback.
At least we got a good corner. All right, you guys can't say the same.
Y'all do.
We got one good corner.
I knew I liked Kid Blue.
That's it. We got one good corner. However, everything else, that whole secondary just looks terrible. The safeties don't look great either. Tyler Nubin, who we just drafted, we thought he was going to come in, probably have a starting role off the bat. He doesn't seem like he's going to be starting off the bat. So I don't know if his progression has been, kind of slow or whatever the case may be. But it's not great. It's not a championship roster at all by any means. It's borderline a 500 roster. So we just got to hope for the best and hope all the everything falls into place at the right time. So.
Speaking of the Giants, we have a super chat from Giants fans.
Kid Blue,
and all the diehard Giants fans across the pond in America. Greetings from our entire rugby club in Italy. Shout out.
My man Tudo.
Shout out Tudo. Hopping in, showing some love, man. We sincerely appreciate that. Folks, just a reminder, certainly do us a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. We are live each and every single Thursday at 6 p.m. EST, giving you all the late breaking news surrounding the NFC.
We got Jets fans in the chat talking trash like they've made the playoffs in the last decade or so.
Okay, listen, this guy right here. So you need to tune in right to the AFC's Roundtable during our call-in segment. All right. Yeah.
He's a local.
He's talking trash in every single Roundtable. And
I can't say anything about the Jets. I can't say anything about the Jets, even though they're kind of like the little brother of MetLife, and they're not the little brother anymore. Listen, we haven't beat the Jets in 12 years, so I can't say anything about the Jets, man.
We've seen the postseason more recently than the Jets have, so I don't want to hear shit from the Jets until you actually see Aaron Rodgers play football, bro.
That is true.
Yeah, it was a heated debate earlier this morning about him. So, yeah, and rightfully so. But I knew, Kid Blue, I liked you. You're gassing us up early. I see what you're doing. You're in high spirits with this Neighbors jersey, and I would be too with a jersey that looks like that. I would be too.
Yeah, it's clean. It's clean.
It is clean.
Now,
Howie Roseman is the king of bringing in name recognition guys. Like everybody he brings in is someone fans have heard of before. So it's a way it's a way of deception in a way. Like you see who this guy we picked up? You all heard of him, right?
That's why Eagles fans think they're bringing in everybody in free agency.
I know.
Everybody like, oh my God, everybody's coming here. So yeah.
If you recognize the name in the NFL, it's a bad thing.
Usually.
It is. I feel like
usually.
that's the way the NFL is. By the time you get talent that's name recognition, that guy's over the hill. That's just usually how the NFL works.
Classes. Look at half of these draft classes that you go back and look right after the draft happens, and they're like all these big names in one draft class, and they wind up not doing anything. But it's always the draft class where you don't even know who that player is, or in whatever round, and they wind up working out. So yeah, I understand that completely.
Everybody in the chat, if your team has seen the postseason since 2011, put your hands up in the chat and point to the Jets fan down below.
Oh,
love it. Little AFC East.
See, this is why Rio's gaining Twitter followers right here. So you see what he's doing. This is what you have to do. You have to bait people in.
I'm trying to get like you, man.
Shout out to Snacking95 saying the only division with 4 Super Bowl champions. Look at that.
Best division in football. Sorry to anybody
NFC
in the chat.
Baby, even when we're bad, we're more relevant than you guys.
Listen, our team is terrible, and we have 5 primetime games. How about it?
Fuck your shit.
So I suppose it's like a car accident or something like that, right? Like you don't want to watch, but you have to. 5 primetime games.
And we're on national television, so yeah.
See, I'll tell you what. So Jay Tuck was not able to join us, had some sort of conflict with his job, completely fine. But that doesn't mean that we still can't talk about the Dallas Cowboys, and we can say whatever we want on this segment now that he is not here to defend himself.
Sure
That's exactly what the show is all about. It's a beautiful thing. I sort of wanted to go around the table, and I sort of wanted like reasonable expectations for the Dallas Cowboys. They finally ended up getting CeeDee Lamb back into the picture, but then they still have like these 2 what-ifs when it comes into extending Dak Prescott, what the hell they're going to do with the Micah Parsons contract once that comes to fruition next off season. I think my question here is, have the Cowboys gotten any better than last year? Do you fear them as much as you did, or do you see them taking a step back or a step forward? Starting off with Rio on this one. Dallas Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys are still the Dallas Cowboys. This roster is don't let them gaslight you to believe that there's still things that need to be done there. They have what it takes in the NFC
all in, baby.
to get there. They're all in. Put it in quotes. They got CD paid. I wanted that to last a little longer. I wanted it to be a soap opera there. I wanted the Brandon Ayuk thing to happen in Dallas, but now it gets to happen with their quarterback, Rain Dakota Prescott. We know who Dallas is in the regular season. They're going to win 11 to 13 games. They're going to look like this is their year, like all their fans tell all of us, 24/7, 365. They're going to get to the playoffs, and at latest, the divisional round, their season will stop. We know what they are. We know what's on their roster. They have the oldest backfield in history. They're trying to put together the 2018 Pro Bowl roster in their backfield with Dalvin Cook and Zeke Elliott, guys who are far past their primes, very rinsed backfield, but they got Dak. They got CD back in the fold, Brandon Cooks and company. Their offensive line is good. Their coaching staff is their coaching staff. They lost Dan Quinn, but they're still going to be a good football team on both sides of the ball, and their season's still going to end at latest the divisional round. We know what they have on the roster. We know who they are. They're the NFL's biggest brand, recently got a valuation of $10 billion. Prove it to everybody that something has changed, because until we see it, like, what even is the point? Like, their roster, they don't need to make a big move. They didn't lose too significant of personnel. They got to pay Dak. They got to pay Micah Parsons. So pretty much their leader on both sides of the ball. And this is an all-in year. I'm praying it all goes to hell and they're rebuilding in 2025.
Now,
That's soon, huh?
Yeah, thoughts on this, Gary, especially since it's been you and the Cowboys for the past couple of seasons. Do you look at them any differently than you did in 2023?
No, the takeaway is the exact same. I'm with Rio. It's not about personnel. They have the personnel. A lot of people, when they try and figure out where are these teams going, what do I predict to happen soon? what's going to happen in the near future. Rio wants them to be rebuilding in 2025. And if you were asking him realistically in a non-joking manner, he'd probably tell you Dallas is probably going to have a good roster next year too. But you know what? They haven't proven anything to us. They haven't shown us that when you have the ingredients to win, you have an excellent defense, you have great linebackers, you can run after the quarterback, you can get him on the ground. Your quarterback play, Dak Prescott's a very good quarterback in this league. I feel like we're talking about Tony Romo here. I feel like we're talking about that version of the Dallas Cowboys where you're looking at a team that's very good on paper. They go out and win football games in the regular season, and yet all of these teams have no fear of the Cowboys when it comes to postseason football. It's just the way it is, and that can change in a hurry, but you've got to go show it to us.
Super interested. What about you, Kid Blue? Thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys?
I think Gary said it perfectly. I mean, growing up, I'll be 27 this year. Growing up, the Cowboys have always had a great team around them. You know, going back to the Tony Romo days, like Gary said, they've always had a great team. Like you go into these you predict the records every year and stuff like that. You see on the NFL media, they talk about the Cowboys, how they're playoff contenders, stuff like that. But nobody ever talks about them being an actual Super Bowl contender because that's just what the Cowboys are. I'm sitting here as a Giants fan. I've seen 3 Super Bowls in my time. I've seen us win 2 of them. And, you know, I don't know what's better or worse, you know, having a team that always does great in the regular season and never does anything after it, or having a couple of off seasons or down seasons and then winning a couple Super Bowls. I don't know what's worse or what's better, but it must suck being a Dallas Cowboys fan, always talking about expectations and then not fulfilling it. As Stephen A. Smith would say, what can go wrong will go wrong with the Dallas Cowboys when it comes to the month of January. So, listen, as far as the Cowboys go, of course, do I think they're going to sweep the Giants? Probably. But you know what? They're going to be on the couch with us come January. So I'm not worried about them in the slightest. Never do I worry about Dak Prescott getting a ring or anything. So long as we're with the Cowboys, it's just not going to happen. I don't know what it is. It's got to be ownership at this point, right? I mean, you got to say it's ownership. They've changed coaches multiple times, changed your defensive scheme, changed your offensive scheme, changed the quarterback, and they still haven't been able to get it done. They could build a team around them, but they can't get it done. I really don't know what it is, but that's the Cowboys.
Jerry Jones is just worried about keeping Dallas as NFL Disney. He doesn't care if they win.
Disney World, yeah.
It's the brand.
That's right, America's team.
It is
good old Jerry.
It is NFL Disney. That is absolutely. And hey, you know what? I think our representative as well. The backup. Hey, what's going on, man? Listen, we were just talking about the Dallas Cowboys for a little bit.
I heard. Yeah, I heard.
Dave Talks representative, man. First off, welcome to the show. We sincerely appreciate you coming on.
By the way, I will forward. He told me 7-6. I didn't know it was at 5 Central. I would have been here on time. I do apologize.
There's no issue at all, my friend. Listen, we were just unpacking the 53-man roster for each and every single organization. Talk to us about what you ended up getting as far as takeaways. We saw that CeeDee Lamb ended up signing his contract. Right. Still a lot of questions about Dak's extension. But like really all in all, do you see this team taking a step forward, just being right where they were last year, or a slight step back based off of your 53?
Yeah, it's very interesting where the Cowboys are, right? Because, you know, they were building, right, 12-5. You go get Gilmore. You go out here. You get Brandon Cooks. You feel like you're stepping in the right direction. And, you know, wild card, divisional. Now, okay, let's take the next step to the conference championship game. And unfortunately, Green Bay showed up like, okay, well, hey, Brett, I mean, it's not Aaron Rodgers. And then we got smacked. And you're looking around, and it's kind of moved the needle in how they've handled things this offseason, right? That's why McCarthy hasn't been extended. That's kind of a little bit why it's Zimmer here now and not Dan Quinn to a certain extent and what's going on there. So then you get to the brass tacks of things of where the team is. It's intriguing because I had this question asked me several times during the cut down time, and we were looking at it. It's like there's things that are better about this team, but then there's just things you're just not going to know until you get into this season with them. They're bigger up front defensively. What's been the number one thing that's hurt them for a long time? You're talking about Romo's teams and stuff I heard earlier. Guess what? We couldn't stop the run then. While Dan Quinn was here, guess what? We still couldn't stop the run. So, you know, they got bigger in the front seven. That's part of adding Zimmer to this. offensive line wise last year, we couldn't block well in the run game. We wasn't very physical in the run game. So I think we're going to be strong on the offensive line because of the two rookies that are there. However, how's the pass blocking? What's the trade off for the pass blocking now for Dak and CD and those guys to get it done? So it's a little bit of give and take when it comes to that. The crux of this team that's been 12-5 for 3 straight years is still here, right? So I think they're a 10-win team. Now, are they stronger? Are they more built to be proven into the playoffs? That's, where the fan base is exhaustingly waiting to see, and that's kind of where we all are right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm definitely interested to see what the Dallas Cowboys have in store for 2024. Well, folks,
Everyone will watch.
Yeah, man, most definitely. And by the way, shout out 251 of you watching us right now. Thank you so much.
Hey, smash that like button. Smash that like button and
smash
subscribe.
that like button. 144 of you are currently in the chat on YouTube, and 105 of you are on X right now. So we appreciate that. Smash the like button and do me a favor and do a roll call in the chat. Let us know what team you are currently representing. We want to get a good understanding of what sort of turnout we're getting here leading up to the season. Now, folks, we were originally planning on doing a recorded video after this live stream of their divisional rankings, all right? Like where each and every single panelist had their division, where it was going to ultimately end up panning out. But I think I'm going to give it to you right on this live stream. And this segment is powered by BetUS. BetUS, hands down the number one platform on the face of the planet when it comes into sports gambling. I mean, even all the way down to politics, all right? They're matching 125% of your first 3 deposits all the way up to $2,000. This is the best promo in the game. Link is in the description. Certainly go on ahead and show them some love. However, guys, like I said, we did end up having a few of you send over your beloved division predictions, all right? So I sort of wanted to start off with Jay Tuck, and obviously we're going to have Nix in here walk through his reasoning and see whether or not that you agreed with what he put on the table. And without further ado, this is what we have Jay Tuck putting on the table for the NFC East.
Wow, he got us with 9 wins. Okay, Tuck. Okay.
What is this? What is it?
Oh, you're upset.
Yeah, I gotta talk to Jay Tuck. I gotta talk. I thought we were boys.
All right. So, Nix, sound off and let me know if you were on the same page with her.
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good to me overall. I mean, maybe a little bit different on as far as the numbers, the wins and losses, but I think it stacks up. This division's coming down to the Eagles and the Cowboys, and as far as it said, there's a lot of combustible things over there in Philly as well. Everything isn't sweet. I know they went out there and got Saquon Barkley, and they're loving those things. But it ain't, you're on your 4th defensive coordinator in 3 years because they had.
Hey, easy on the new guy here, huh?
I'm just saying, you got, your Kellen Moore's over there now. That's the 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years. I mean, it's just, there's some moving pieces over there. How is the relationship with the head coach and the quarterback? I'm just saying, it's moving pieces. But the lay of the land is where I got it ranked, though. Yeah, I agree with Tuck here.
So he's on the same page. And then, hey, with Kid Blue is obviously upset. All right, so please give me your thoughts on what Jay Tuck had to say about it.
Here we go again, where we just overrate the Commanders on what they've got on paper. People do this every single year with the Commanders, and they prove to be exactly who we thought they were. And so I cannot see Washington getting 9 wins. Again, I've said it last week. When it comes to the Commanders, they just brought in so many pieces in there as far as coaches go, front office, players and stuff like that. I don't know how much chemistry is really there between all of them that they're just going to go ahead and get 9 wins off the bat like that. So we'll see what happens, especially having a rookie quarterback. I love Jaden Daniels, but he's still probably going to have his rookie moments. I don't know if he'll just flat out take this Washington Commanders team to a 9-win season. I don't know about that. The Giants record, however, I mean, I understand it from the outside looking in. I mean, I got to see where he had us winning. That would kind of give me a good idea how he feels about the team right now. But I don't think the Giants are going to get 4 wins unless it's something extremely bad. I know this roster, we talked about it earlier today. The roster for the Giants is not great at all, right? Like, it's not even playoff contender. But the coaching staff is what really brings the Giants kind of a step ahead, the roster. We've seen in 2022, they had a lackluster roster, still went 9-6-1, made a playoff run, won a playoff game. Last year was one of the worst years as a Giants fan that I ever experienced in 2023, and we still managed to win 6 games. So, even with the quarterback carousel that we had every single quarterback on our roster hurt last year. We still were able to win 6 games. Tommy DeVito beat the Green Bay Packers for crying out loud. So, I still think we're going to be able to win games. I don't think we're going to be losing as many games as that. And then when it comes to the Eagles and Cowboys, I mean, that looks fine to me. I mean, again, like Nick said, the numbers could be 1 or 2 points off, or 1 or 2 win or losses off, but I still think the Eagles are going to win the division. It's their turn in the because you can't win the division twice. So yeah.
And so, any reservations about this list, Gary?
No, okay, so I do have a few adjustments. So I'm going to start from the bottom, actually, with the Giants. I actually agree with Kid Blue here. I think they get 6 wins. I really do.
Yes!
And that's I think they get 6 wins. I'm trying to look at who they were last year, what they've got in terms of their coaching staff, which, of course, he alluded to. But everything went wrong last year. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what they excelled at had to do with the mind and thinking football and not necessarily execution. Everything execution-wise pretty much failed for the Giants last year. So you can go ahead and make that assumption that happens again, because the roster, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it's not very good, but of course they made some key additions. I think they get back to 6 wins. I can't see Washington necessarily getting up to 9-8, but I can see like an, 8-win season. And then Dallas, I have them at 10 wins. Obviously, I have Philadelphia winning the division, and not a surprise there from anybody. But I feel like Dallas in general, they're in a little bit of quicksand. They almost feel like the Los Angeles Clippers right now, where they're not sure. We've got the roster clearly to win. Can we put it together? And there's a pedigree almost, it feels like, that when it comes down to it, they're going to find a way to do something that ruins such a good roster that Dallas clearly has. Because if Dallas had any pedigree at all of getting it done late in the season and into the postseason, I really think their regular season would be a lot better than what we're predicting now.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And you know what? When we transition over to Rio, we're actually going to put his list up. And then please let us know your reservations with the previous list.
Oh, I don't have any reservations with the order. I think the win and loss. I think the win and loss column can change a little bit for the team, but I think the order is correct. I don't think we're finishing last place in this division. I'm sorry, Kid Blue. I don't think we're finishing last place in this division.
We will see. Yeah, me and Rio have our own division race, and then Eagles and Cowboys.
Yeah. Yep. This is my divisional power rankings of the NFC East. I don't think anyone in this division is winning 13 games this year. I don't see it. I don't see any of these guys going 13-4. The Eagles are going to win because they have the best roster in the division and round of elimination. Nobody wins this division 2 years in a row. Gary's Philadelphia Eagles, back when Donovan McNabb was doing chunky soup ads, was the last time we saw a repeat winner in this division. That was 20 years ago, 2 decades. People just don't repeat in this division. Someone's going to have to break it at some point because history is made to be broken, but not now. It's not going to happen in 2024. The Eagles are going to go 12-5. The Eagles are going to win the division. Let's hop to the bottom of the division. Nobody in this division is bad enough to be a 4 or 5 win team this year. And the only reason I have the Giants finishing 6-11 is because they're going to lose twice to the Washington Commanders. We're going to sweep the New York Giants this year.
When was the last time that happened? We talked about – hold on. We talked about division winners and not repeating. When was the last time you swept us?
2020, I believe. I believe it's 2020.
Oh, my, the COVID year? Oh, my God. No.
Okay, but I don't care about – but
that year didn't count, man.
Exactly. That year didn't count. And nothing that preceded this year counts to who we are now. So all of what Washington did in years before, none of that shit is in the building anymore. Ron Rivera's bum ass and his staff, Jack Del Rio, campaign election year, Jack Del Rio is gone. No more dust ups in DC. Dan Snyder, the worst owner in pro sports history, gone.
I can't wait till week 2. I can't wait till week 2.
We have an actual quarterback at Northwest Stadium. No longer FedEx Field, no longer Commanders Field. It is Northwest Federal Stadium. Northwest Federal Credit
Is it the
Union
same stadium though?
Yeah, it's the same. But
It's
I
the
mean,
same
it's better
stadium.
grass and better amenities since Dan left because the new owners actually put 100
Oh, great. They got
million into
nachos
it.
there now.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
you know.
All right.
Hey, fellas,
they fixed
put
the-
your money where your mouth is with
They
Bet
fixed,
US.
did they fix
Absolutely.
the pipes
That's right,
there? Did
that's
they
right.
fix the pipes?
Oh, the stadium's still ass. I mean, the pipes ain't gonna burst on you, but they trying at least. Dan Snyder didn't try. Josh Harrison company actually trying. We're trying to get a new stadium, a new headquarters, but until we leave, they're trying to fix it up like a fixer-upper house you're trying to flip. They're trying to make it decent for the company before we get up out of here. But Washington, I got us at 8-9. This is an optimistic view for this season. This is a Kool-Aid view. I don't know how people got us like Nick Wright got a second and going to the playoffs this year. If that happens, cool. That is a cherry on top, house money, beautiful, perfect transitional year. But I'm not doing all that in year one. 8-9 is a phenomenal season with a rookie quarterback, new staff, new front office, and team looking to establish an identity. Dallas, I can't see them winning under 10 games unless Dak gets hurt. And I can't see them winning over 11 this year. Them and Philly are going to go to the final week of the season fighting for the division. It's going to be a battle between those two, but 11 and 12 wins just sounds like the right numbers for those two. Washington gets the 8 wins because we get the upper hand of the element of surprise. Nobody knows what's coming from this team in 2024. So this is my power ranking of the NFC East. Now roast me.
Damn. So, Nix, what do you think about this? Are there any reservations?
It looks more. I like this one a little bit more from the win breakdowns of where it is right now. Again, I do think Philly. It's closer at the top here between Philly and Dallas for sure. I think Washington's for sure locks into the 3rd spot, and begrudgingly, surely, I think the Giants get more than 4 wins, right? I mean, they're going to get 6. They're going to find a way to get 6. The defensive front, yeah. The defensive front over there, Ed Burns, the other D-Law, right? I mean, that defensive front that they have in New York is legit. So around there, I have Washington 7-8 wins. That makes sense. I said the Cowboys are a 10-win team at minimum, floor, ceiling 12. This is the better of the two I've seen this far. Yeah, I can rock with this.
My guy.
Now, there was a take earlier where, Rio and Kid Blue got into an argument about the Commanders potentially sweeping the New York Giants. And I'm not going to ask either of them because obviously, they're going to pick their favorite team. So I want to ask Gary. Gary, if you had to put your money down on the Commanders sweeping the New York Giants, is that going to happen in 2024?
No chance. I just don't see it. And this is considering that I believe that things are going to work out in the best way that it can work out for these two teams. Pedigree shows, and this is part of a lot of the predictions we're making are based on long-term data. There's a reason these numbers are there. There's a reason that since Tony Romo, it's like no team goes out there and wins back-to-back divisions. So a lot of us have to act accordingly. I feel like doing anything else is just trying to go against the grain. And I feel like that's just a bold take going with the sweep. I just don't see a sweep happening. I just think when it comes down to it, whether you like someone's defensive line, their secondary, with what you think the Eagles have done in the draft with the 1st and 2nd round, it feels like it doesn't really matter what happens in the draft for these teams because when they face off, every game's close. And what I know about games being close is that it usually splits most often, more times than not. And that's what I'm going with. I'm going with the split.
Respect. I respect it. But this guy's good. This guy's polished. This guy's good.
Consider.
Yes. Hey.
Consider.
It's Gary Sheffield Jr. over here.
I'm not you guys. I'm just trying to get like you guys. Trust me.
Philadelphia Eagles representative, Mr. Gary Sheffield. All right. I keep hearing an echo, and StreamYard's been like having an aneurysm for the past couple of weeks. So in case you guys are hearing an echo, that's exactly what it is. As Kid Blue gives his redemption arc.
Oh, you guys are gonna hate me with this one.
This is wow. Okay. Wow.
Okay.
Hey, yo.
Okay. I know what everybody's gonna be looking at. It's the Philadelphia Eagles winning 14 games. Here's what I will say about that. I'll start with that one because that's the big elephant there. I hate Howie Roseman. I hate the man. All right. I've hated the man since they won the Super Bowl. I actually liked them before they won the Super Bowl because all the Eagles fans hated him at the time. Now they love them as soon as they won the Super Bowl. I have utmost respect for him. I've been looking closely at what they've been doing in the offseason, and I've been flat out jealous. I'll be honest with you. That's where I want to be as an organization. I want to make crazy trades. I want to over provide for certain positions and things like that. And I want to draft well. I want my free agent. I want to, get good free agents in there that are going to be impactful. And I see that with the Eagles right now. As much as I hate the Eagles, I grew up, despising because I grew up, I spent half of my, child years in Pennsylvania. So I was surrounded by Eagles fans. I grew up hating the entire organization, but I respect what they're doing over there. And I think it's going to work for them for the most part. I know there was a lot of talk, bringing in a new offensive coordinator, defensive coordinators in there, kind of rotating them in there. And I understand that completely. I just think that they do have, even though there is some controversy with the coach, with Nick Sirianni, and is he the guy there? Is he having problems with the quarterback? I still think they go out there and win games. They've already proven it. Jalen Hurts has already been to a Super Bowl along with Nick Sirianni, and they've gotten close again in the following year. So I still think they're going to win a lot of games. And I look at their schedule, and I'll be honest with you, on paper, there's just not a lot of teams that stack up with the Eagles on paper, going through these schedules. I went through the whole that I got to this conclusion by going through in every single game that the NFC East goes to with the NFL predictor thing. And that's how I got to my conclusion. So with the Dallas Cowboys, I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back. I don't really have a crazy opinion on the Cowboys right now. They're just kind of, the second best team in the NFC East. So that's where I have them at there. And the Giants, I will say this is probably close to the most generous win total I can give them. I think maybe they can slip away with 8 wins. I don't think they come out with a winning record, but I think that at best they can probably get 8 wins. I think they have to start off early. They have to start off early with Minnesota, Washington, and then work their way from there. Start off 2-0 and then work your way from there. Because if you start off 0-2, the numbers aren't favoring you, winning much games after that. I've said this on the show multiple times, but if there's 3 things you can look forward to in this life, it's death, taxes, and the New York Giants sweeping the Washington Commanders. And I have them doing exactly that this year again. So
not a chance. Not a chance.
There's two of those 7 wins are from the Commanders. So.
Not a chance.
Drew Lock.
Not a chance. Rookie Jaden Daniels is getting swept by Daniel Jones. Absolutely not.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
You mean Drew
Daniel
Lock?
Jones
right?
turns into Clark Kent versus Washington.
Versus the old Washington. Versus the old Washington.
The Commanders.
No,
you were the Washington football team. Then you're the Commanders.
Go ahead and Google Dan Quinn's. Go ahead and Google Dan Quinn's record versus Daniel Jones, and we can talk about it, man. Because that's our coach.
Man.
Now.
Oh man.
Let's go.
Oh.
As a defensive coordinator.
You're talking about a head coach that took a team to the Super Bowl. I seen an Eagles fan just say, "Y'all think he's going to take you somewhere?" I know he did choke, but he got there. Just like Nick Sirianni took the Eagles, and they got there. And what did they do? And Eagles fans beat their goddamn chest about a Super Bowl loss like there was a goddamn Vince Lombardi participation trophy.
My boy James Bradbury made sure that didn't happen. My boy James Bradbury.
He's a human piece of toast. You were complaining about your guys' secondary. Could we interest you in Bradbury as a safety?
You want to bring him back?
Because by the way, I can't see
Drew
Drew Lock winning any games against Washington in the second half. I just can't see it.
Listen, it's going to be Daniel Jones. Listen, Drew Lock isn't even healthy right now, okay? We got this man just to get hurt. So if Daniel Jones goes down, it's going to be TD Tommy, okay? So
over under 5 weeks, Neighbors is ready to beat the shit out of Daniel Jones. He's going to be
3.
He's been throwing
honestly, we can't be mad at it because when we saw it on Hard Knocks, Malik Neighbors, he knows he has the attitude problem. He knows he can get very passionate. Dable says, hell, I can get passionate too. If any of you guys were paying attention to what happened in the offseason with Brian Dable and Wink Martindale, you know that Brian Dable is no BS either. Like, he wants to win. He gets passionate. He yells at people too. I want to see that. I want to see them getting fired up, holding guys accountable, even if it's the quarterback, so you can make the entire team better. So if Malik Neighbors goes off, like has a whole Odell Beckham kick in the net thing, I'm for it this time. Okay, I'm for it this time. Let's go.
Now, Kid Blue, so a question for you regarding Brian Dable. How hot is his seat right now? So do you think that if the Giants go out there and mimic same exact thing as last year, finish in the basement, 3 to 4 wins, is he gone? Or is your front office willing to give him one more year with the insurance policy of, hey, I didn't have an opportunity of getting the quarterback that I wanted in the draft. How hot is that?
I actually think Joe Shane's the GM, his seat is a lot hotter than Brian Dable's. I think Brian Dable has went out there with the team that Joe Shane provided and did the most with it. I've said it before. Tommy DeVito is an undrafted free agent, was a rookie at the time out of Syracuse or Illinois most recently, and won 3 straight games when the Giants couldn't get anything going. And one of them was against the Green Bay Packers. And we all know what they did to the Cowboys in the playoffs. And Jordan Love has like ascended. Everybody respects him coming into this next season. And we did that to the Green Bay Packers with Tommy DeVito. You go back to 2022, we had I still don't even know the wide receiver's name. We had a wide receiving core of Isaiah Hodgins, Isaiah Hodgins was a godsend for us. Okay. He was a depth player for the Bills. All right. A practice squad guy at that. He became our starter and became like the man. Okay. That's how bad our roster was. And we still made a playoff run. That is all because of Brian Dable. Every positive was because of Brian Dable. So I actually think, I know it sounds crazy. The 9-6-1 record, what do we have? 6-11 record last year. I think that actually helps Brian Dable because of you look at the roster and you're like, what the hell is this? And you were able to win games with this. That's impressive. So if anything were to happen, I think Joe Shane would probably be on the hot seat rather than Brian Dable. I think his job is safe. He already won Coach of the Year in his first year with the Giants. I think you provide this man with at least a better secondary, a functional offensive line,
and a quarterback.
Because you saw Brian Dable, he wanted Jaden Daniels. You saw Brian, he said he would trade up for Jaden Daniels. So if you provide Brian Dable with the necessary pieces, this team could be a contender because of him and because of his offensive mindset. So yeah.
Hey, Brandon, you just agreed to a deal with the Niners. 4 years.
4 years, 120.
Woo! Yeah.
Woo, baby, let's go. We don't have to revisit that wide receiver thing. Let's go, baby.
We don't. I literally put out a video earlier today saying we're not getting Brandon Ayuk.
So man, that's the best news I've heard today.
Now, what they gonna do with Trent though?
You ain't gonna bring him back. Y'all ain't gonna pay the man. That's why he left.
I mean, well, nobody that dealt with him here is in the building anymore.
That's true. Hey, and he deserves to
get
paid. They gotta
pay him. That's the best tackle in football. One
of the best player in football, man.
Have to do it, folks. 197 of you in the chat right now on YouTube. 145 on X. 345 total. Thank you so much for joining us today. Next week is about to be absolutely insane, where we are going to be walking through with all of our panelists their week 1 previews. And we're going to be getting takes from all the other panelists and how they think their rivals games are going to come to fruition. I'm excited about it. I really am. But again, we want to thank you for tuning in and making the NFC East Roundtable a part of your Thursday tradition. Before we sign off, I would like to go around the table, have a conversation with the panelists, see what's going on their specific channels for the rest of the week, and wrap up afterwards. Rio, what's going on, man?
Oh, man, I'm looking forward to doing my own little NFC East roundtable on my channel tomorrow night. And we're just getting ready for week 1. I'm keeping constant daily content going. I know the team is on break. They're getting their Labor Day break. They're off until Monday. That's their next practice. But next week, we are full wheels up. Week 1. Game preview. I'm going to have Mr. Bucks Nation, who I believe is also of the Roundtable Sports Network, on to preview our Tampa Bay versus Washington week 1 matchup. And if you're going to see you're going to get sick of seeing me on timelines because the content's going to be daily all season. I'm ready to go.
Absolutely love it. And shout out to Gary Sheffield Jr., by the way, for hopping on in, committing to the NFC East Roundtable for the season, man. Now, he does have a Yankees podcast, but what's going on your socials, man? What should people look forward to this week?
Yeah, just Gary Sheffield Jr. I am going to be previewing what the Eagles are going to be doing because I'm going to see you boys in Brazil. We are starting off overseas, kind of crazy. It's a Friday night game. So thankfully that game's on at a realistic time where we can all watch this game. I don't have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So that's enjoyable. But this is part of the reason why I didn't predict the Eagles to go win 14 games like Kid Blue did, is in large part because we're starting the year off with de facto road games. I've never liked it.
Yeah.
I never will. I've never cared about going overseas to play football. I get it. They want to grow the game, but the game's already grown with gambling in the game. This game's as big as it'll ever be. It's ridiculous how big we really are. So yeah, thank you guys so much for bringing me on. And I'm looking forward to doing it again next week.
Oh man, it's going to be a hell of a season. What about you, Kid Blue? What's going on over on the channel? What should people be looking forward to?
I mean, as far as my channel goes, going to be previewing the Minnesota Vikings game. Probably do a couple of live streams in the, while we get ready for the week. I'm working on a little short documentary on the undrafted free agent tryout Elijah Chapman that he went viral for that defensive lineman that chased down the running back and in that Texans game a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he was a tryout that made the team, the 53-man roster. So I wanted to kind of do a little deep dive on him. And yeah, as far as the channel goes, that would kind of be it. And we'll just wait to see what happens because the Giants kind of been quiet as far as the waiver wire goes, man, because all they've done was bring on the guys that they've cut onto their practice squad. And we got I got to look at the update, but a total of 0 waiver claims on the guys that we've cut by the other 31 teams. So nobody wants our guys that we cut. So there's the issue.
I wonder why.
That's relatable.
There's the issue. So a lot of beat writers were like, "Oh my God, we have access to sign these guys onto our practice squad." I'm like, how is this a good thing? How is this a good thing that nobody's contending for the guys that we cut? So and they're like, "Oh my God, this is great news. We get to keep this guy and this guy and this guy." I'm like, "Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Let's see what happens." But
can't wait
but yeah, getting ready for week 1 and yeah.
Oh man, last but not least, Nix. What's going on, man? We appreciate you filling in today too.
Yes, sir. Absolutely not a problem. Again, sorry I was late for the miscommunication there. Well, unlike the Giants, we don't have that problem because Kansas City wants all of our players we cut. Well, we traded Hendershot. They picked up Eric Scott. Now, if we could just figure out, they always get people from us too. Whereas Damian Wilson, Hitchens, whatever, they had Boss Man Fat last year after we cut him. If we could get some of their postseason from them getting to the guys that we cut, that'd be great. Neither here nor there. But yeah, your guy Nick's over there on the social medias, Twitter, whatnot. We got we have the space coming up, the 3rd annual NFC East space we'll be doing. 2 years ago, John, it was Washington fans, very ruckus, and that was fun. Last year was the Giants fans and told me they had closed the gap against the Cowboys. It was very ruckus. So they're always fun. So the 3rd annual NFC East space is going down next week. And maybe we're just getting ready for the season like the rest of the guys talked about. Just time to really start ramping up, daily content coming out consistently. So the season's here, fellas. Everybody enjoy.
I need a new voice. That thing's a work of art. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
that's a football voice right now.
No, that is definitely you've definitely coached. You've definitely coached before.
I've dabbled.
I've dabbled.
Yeah. What
happened?
He's so good. He quit.
He's like, I'm out.
he gotta go coach, man.
Mic drop.
Right.
Oh man. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the NFC East Roundtable. Longer episode next week as we really hammer down on all of the previews for week 1. Football is here. Shout out to everyone that rocked with us during the offseason. You haven't seen anything yet. See you next Thursday. Peace.
Let's get it.